Give it a moment, see if anybody else comes on, but had a few folks here chatting, and then all of a sudden, boom, I lost my internet again. Odd, odd, odd. So we'll see who pops in. Apologize for that. Hey, Beatles, welcome. I just did what was going for about 34 minutes talking. I'm covering kind of a general action PC tutorial on resources. I know you've done similar things, and kind of walking through my approach to my projects, um, how I use some sources to crunch numbers, how I'm going to get into some of the creation and editing tabs in the games along the way here. But I was on for about 34 minutes, and then I looked over, and all of a sudden I'm chatting away to nothing, disconnected again. So this is kind of part two of that. I was walking through some of the awesome sources here. In fact, I'm going to fire up Baseball Reference. And some people may not know this. Other people may have better tips than this, but I was just sharing. Let's take a look at Ty Cobb here. If I was going to do an all-time greats with Ty Cobb, and let's say I wanted to pick, three of his best seasons, or what might have you here, could always look over here and take a look at OPS plus, right? So I could say, man, these OPS plus, these are his three best. So let's say I was going to build a Ty Cobb card based on 1910, 12, and 17. Here's the cool thing you can do. I can go to modify right here, this table. And now that I've got it organized right there, I've got 17, 10, and 12 I'm going to use here. And I can just hit X and get rid of all the ones I don't want to see. And then close it. And guess what? Now I'm only looking at the three that I'm going to average. So this is a big tool for me. Hey, Joe, sorry. I know Joe was on earlier. He's back. I have no idea why I got kicked out. My internet went launch me, but anyway, but this is awesome because now I can grab right here, I can grab all this data, throw it into one of my, I'll create like an Excel table sheet that once I drop that information in will automatically average those three out for me so that I could come up with this line. Some people will say, okay, well, what are you going to do here? Because you've got 19, 10, and 17 that don't have stolen base or caught stealing numbers. And I'm like, well, there's some things you can do. I can always go down here and view original table. I can always come over here and look at about 4 seasons here where there were caught stealing data and identify and just take the average, the percentages there and apply it, which is a good way to go. Or I could go into what I call the other one, which baseball retro sheet. Let's look at Ty Cobb. I spend all this time. This is my happy place doing all this stuff. And you'll see here, Ty Cobb, sometimes they'll have, maybe it's incomplete data, right, that you could fill in on some of the earlier seasons. See, like 17 doesn't have all of it there yet. But, you can get an average of what they have done and kind of apply that as a good baseline. So sometimes when I'm filling that stuff in, um, comes in handy to look at that. Stat heads are removing neutralizing stats. Yes, and I'll tell you what, if they do, I don't know what they're trying to get at there. I'll cancel my subscription because that's what I use it for. In fact, let me go into stat head right here. Where's our neutralizer? Oh my gosh. Neutralize stats. Boom. So when I go to neutralize stats, right, it's going to ask me to log in. I'm logged in. This tool removed. And I hate it because what I like about this is, let's say I'm going to use certain seasons here for Ty Cobb, right? I can do that. And then I could put him in a neutral park in a neutral year. I've been using this for a lot of my projects to come over here and just run the neutralized numbers. And that will suck if they get rid of that, because really I'm not as interested in finding, cool box scores or whatever, researching streaks and all that stuff. This is really I use for neutralizing stats and being able to get that line and then pulling it into. Hmm. So I can go over here. Let's say, what was I going to do? 10? Let's get rid of that one. So I could go, I think it was 10, 12, and 17. I can highlight those right there. Um, and then, let's say I wanted to take it. Yeah, Neutral Park National League. Oh, here we go. No, I got to do it. I'm forgetting now. 10, 12, 17. I could export all my data here, get it as an Excel workbook. I'm going to hate losing this if it goes away. Just saying. So, little player creation. So let me pop up. And as you can see here, I was talking a little bit earlier about how I'll take these, the years I'm going to use for Lanier. Let's take a peek at what they were. He's back here. So I took Bob Lanier, and this is like 71, 73, and 74. Those are pretty close, right? So you won't see a ton of variation as you neutralize it. But I'm trying to get player photo pictures, all this good stuff in here, and have fun. Now, if we want to just start something fresh, if you're in the game, one of the things you can do is go right up to your utilities. Um, Sometimes you can hit tools right here and do a lot of fun stuff and reset here. But if you want to create something, go right up here to utilities, and it'll say create new draft league, okay? Or create new league, right? I'm going to go create league. You could also copy a current one and just rename it. That's another option that you have, right? I'm going to create a new league, and here's the options I have. What year do I want to put the league in? Now, let's say I'm going to put it in 93. What do I want to call this league? I'm going to call it, I'll just call it Test League. You can also create fictional players here if you're just looking to have fun. I'm not going this route, but it's a cool option for those that do. And I can figure out, well, what kind of divisions do I want to have set up? So maybe have 2 divisions, and I want, 6 teams in each. So I'm going to create 12 teams for this draft league. And do I want them to create it with random cities, or just leave it team 1, 2, 3, knowing that I'm going to edit it later? I've never chosen random cities, so I'm going to do that for the heck of it. You could also have a computer generated schedule for you. I'm not concerned about that yet. So let's create this test league, and it should become your active league right here, right? And you can always check by going down here, and sometimes I'll even move over to another league and then go back to it. Just it's my OCD of, okay, there we go. Here's our test league. It gave us some just generic names. Well, not really generic, but actually, real franchises here. And this is where I could come in and start saying, hey, if I want to run a project and I own seasons, um, I think you could, well, the easiest way to explain it is any season you own, you can go grab players from anywhere and import them to your draft team if you're making an all-star team or whatever, right? So let's do that. I can go to Philadelphia here, open up the roster. I got nobody. So if I want to import, I could go to team here and modify my team. Let's do that. There's no team nickname. I'll just call them the Philadelphia Stars. You can start assigning um, different things. Another thing to be aware of is if you select a team that's stock, it is going to treat like everybody came from that year in that team. So if I'm going to do a draft league, I could go here and change that to draft. An easy way to do this so I don't have to do it for each team individually is I could go over here to tools, And okay, wait a minute. Is it tools or rules? Let's do this. I think it's rules. Um, no, it's got to be tools. I'm just missing it. I'm just not patient. Tools. Oh, right here. Tools. I could assign everybody if I wanted to change my year. Let's say, oh, I picked everybody be in 1993, but now I want to change it to 85. I could do that here. Team year and team type. And then I could say I want it to be pro men, but it's a draft league, meaning players are going to come from all over the place, not just from that team that year, right? If so, I click that, execute team setup tools. Let's execute it. So now if I go look at my rosters, let's take a look at Philadelphia. I should see them now assigned to 1985 down here, which is great. And now you'll see they're a pro draft. Anybody, strength of schedule only applies if it's a college season, right? So you've got options here to select pro, college, ABA, or an Olympic year. And you also have men or women that you can select from. So fun stuff. So let's have a little fun. Let's draft import a team. So if I wanted to bring in an all-star team in here, I could go player, and then you go to import players. Oh yes. It's a little warning there letting you know that it may impact stuff if you're running in a league. And this, you can scroll through all the files you have for action. So you can see every file I have in there is open to me. So let's say I want to go get certain player a certain year. LA, I want to go get two players from LA. I could hit Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and let's say Michael Cooper, import. Okay. Then I can stay right here in the import tool and just click on another season. Let's say I'm going to go to 83, 84, Kansas City, bring in Reggie Theus, Joe Merriweather, and if I hit exit, now it'll show me. You can see I do have some player photos mixed in here, and there's the four players that I brought in. So it'll show me the year that I brought them in, and that's an easy way to assemble all-star teams, fun what ifs or whatever. But remember, those are just based on one season. Basketball does not have the all-time history collection where it's based on a player's peak seasons like football and baseball do. Maybe someday, hopefully, they'll come out with that. I would love it, and that's what I'm trying to do is kind of my own version of that, um, based on the best 3 to 4 years and the project I'm working on now. But this is a very easy way to do that. Now, let's say I wanted to grab a team that has no players, Chicago, and I don't want to import. Let's say I want to create from scratch. You come right over here to a team and you hit edit, and you can edit all of these things. Really, it's these top four that you should be focused on. General player information. Team doesn't have any players. Oh, well, guess what? I need to create a player. So let's create a player. And there he is. It pulls up a screen. Right now he's no name. I could create a bunch of no names, come back and edit it later. It's funny that it's defaulting to the last player I had picked up here, which is Kareem, funny enough. Let me go ahead and modify him. You can modify a player by right clicking and selecting this stuff again. So I could come in here and just go, I could do my editing right here. I could put, here we go. I'm going to put Bob Beatles. I got Beatles on here, right? You could have, and the short name is going to be usually, the last name. And sometimes you got to do it. I can pick the age here, year, uniform number, all this good stuff. So I could come in here and do all of this. He's a pro player, men's, what school he went to. The game, if you put in a pro player, the game automatically has internal information that it'll pull through that. The debut year, salary, original team. If none of this matters, if I want to use whatever, and it'll let me do my ratings right here with drop downs. Now, another way to do that is to go right up to player or team and edit general player info. So now that he's there, I could come over here and change the names here. I could take money out of there because I don't have any money yet, and we'll show you how to figure that. Save the changes. Then I can go edit ratings. These are the ratings that the player has. But what I'll do is actually edit the stats. So if I go into edit stats, you can see they're blank, and I could put in, whatever I wanted. It's just a matter of actually manual enter, like 2,900 minutes, 700, all this good stuff. And I'll go through and do all my manual entry going into here. How many offensive rebounds? I usually have a lot of these in my head. Turnovers, steals, blocks, personal fouls, how many disqualifications, boom. And then I hit save. Now they've got their line in here, and I could come over here once I have players done and say edit, go to real life positions, and you just scroll through this. You just keep clicking and it will scroll through. If I wanted to be, hey, they're a center and maybe their secondary is a power forward. There they go. And then let's let the game go over here and do default ratings. And let's let it figure out salary, rebounding, durability, all this stuff. And I want them available for the whole season. Generate data. Yep. And then now let's go in here, click on Bob Beatles, and you can see based on the stats that I put in there, it generated these default ratings for inside in the game. And if you don't like it, guess what? I say, oh wait, if defensive forced turnovers, which is going for steals, is pretty high for a center position. And if I didn't like any of this, you know what? I can come back in there and edit it. And again, so when I get players created, this is an easy way to do it. The one thing I've sent to action to have them do for basketball, which they'll do for baseball, is let's say I had a whole team here. Let's go back to Philadelphia. Let's say I wanted to change these 3 players here, and I come over here and I say, edit the statistics, and I wanted to, let's say I had all these seasons and I import the players I want and the years I want, but now I want to do something like I'm doing. I want to bring in the average, all new stat lines for them. The one thing they don't have here is an ability to toggle and delete all those current stats. Baseball will let you do that. Here, I would just manually have to click on each one and hit the delete button, and then click, 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 click. This is tedious, right? I mean, this is crazy. I have to just click on each one and delete each one individually. They need to get a delete all player thing up here, and I sent it to action, and hopefully that for the 2023 version will have that. Other people may not care, but I will. Trying to think what else. Baseball. Let's fire up some baseball. So baseball right here. Let me pick up a season where I won't mess anything up. One of my tests. Oh, here's an old Howie Shanks bingo replay test league. Okay, let's go to that. I can mess with this all I want. So let's say I go here and I've got this Albuquerque team. It's my draft team. And I want to edit all these players, right? These are their real stats that the game's based off. I could come up under here, under edit, and I could edit general. It lets me, if I wanted to change name and some of these basic ratings here. If I wanted to edit their batting, I go to batting. Yeah, I want to edit their real ones. What I can do right here is, this is what I'd like to see in basketball. If I want, instead of grabbing each one of these and having to delete, I can go to Tools, Clear Spreadsheet, Clear All Stats. Yes, yes. Now they're gone and I can just do data entry. I don't have to manually delete to go ahead and update. Great feature. Same is true when you're going to go in there and you can edit their batting versus left. You can edit pitching stats, although, yeah, here's some pitching. I want to clear that. Yeah, clear all the pitching stats. Same thing with edit fielding. It'll pull up all the fielding. So if I go position by position, you can see people that have their real fielding data in there. I can hit tools, clear all. I could clear just the catcher spreadsheet, meaning all the rest are there. Or I could say, hey, I want it all to go away. Clear them all. Get them out of here. Boom. Love it. Now I'm basically going to keep the same players, but I've zeroed everything out and I can input my homebrewed average stats or whatever. I can't believe, for whatever reason, basketball has never done that. But then again, I don't think I've ever asked, so we'll see what happens this year. So, yeah, it is much more feature laden. Although, yeah, it is. You're right, Beatles. I was going to sit here and maybe dispute that in some way, but no, it is. They've got great features in there. So that's a great tool in baseball to be able to do the same thing. You can import or create a player. It's a blast, and it's just the way. Baseball also has user mod right here. Right here. They also have an import user created player spreadsheet. So if we click on that, I can go over here and say, wow, what fields do I want to import, right? Which is, if you're creating players from scratch that didn't exist, you're probably going to say yes to all of these and hit create a sheet. And when you create that sheet, let's go to Bingo's draft. Let's see if I can find this one. Bingo's. It's going to, oh, Howie Shanks, Bingo, Draft League. I had to see where it went. So here's where it went. It went into that file that I had. So let me pull that one up. And I think it's got so much crap in this league folder. It's going to be now, where did that go? Oh, here it is, import spreadsheet. So now when I click on that, I could take this spreadsheet. Well, let's say you're going to do your high school league or, whatever you could do. Here it is. It has all the fields that I would need to fill in that would allow me to then import and have all of that information for every player created, right? Look at all the fields that are here, because it has all the ratings, bunts, all that stuff. First name, last name, year, throws, whatever it is. It's all right there. So I haven't played around with this import tool, but it exists for baseball. I'd love to see one for basketball, because then I could take my basketball data that I have right here. Oh, wrong one. Zoom this up a little bit. I have my data here. I have this set up so that I can, for manual entry, this is the order it goes, right? That way I could take all my stuff, move it over into the other import thing, and it would save me some manual entry time. I know a few people on the Action forums have fired up, I'll say, fired up the sheet and tried to use it, a couple successfully. And so you may be able, if you're interested, to search over there under some of the threads. But if it interests you, there you go. What's up, Aaron? The man of 1,000 voices has joined us. Yeah, just walking through. Again, I got to go out and do some yard work later, but I thought, hey, spent a little time. I was watching Al last night, and I know Beatles hopped on too, and he's talking about having us on there to talk about some of the baseball projects and stuff we've been doing. But it got me thinking that because he was asking about some of the franchise files about getting, people that are interested. Because I do get questions a lot on, how do you do the player entry? How do you tweak that? There's so many ways you can do it, but each way has some manual work. Let's put it that way. To me, the easiest thing the games do, and Beatles does this a lot. In fact, he's shown it on his channel, where you can go in there and create a blank league and set up your teams, and then you can go in there and import players onto your team. It's a pretty easy tool. He's also shown where you can go and create a draft pool and then choose from them. So let me set up a draft league in basketball. In fact, this ought to be fun. I haven't done this in a long time. Utilities, create new draft league. So here's the options with draft now. So we'll call this draft league test. Do I want to import teams from an existing league? So like, let's say I wanted to follow, let's do it. Let's follow an early season. Let's say I want to import teams from 6970. Okay. I could say no and bring in my own teams, right, and do that. So let's create them. And do I want to bring players in? And since this is going to be a draft league, this is a blast because I can say, well, I want to draft, and I could choose to say, hey, I want to set up 6970, and then I want to just draft all the players. And maybe we set up a league where we're going to do 6970, but we all get to draft and we have our own custom teams, whatever. Or maybe I want to do an all-time greats, and I want to bring players in from certain time frames. So let's say import players from, let's see here. How about my 70s? Let's do that. My 70s franchise, if I still even have them. It's probably called 70s or 80s. Well, let's do this. Let's say 80s basketball. I have no idea what's in there, but let's see. Create the league. So it's going to take the team names that were around in 6970. Let's create it. Have not done this before, so let's take a look what we get. Okay. Let's go to database, see what players are sitting there. So let's take a look at, we want to look at free agents. Ah, here they all are. Let's look at expanded. So we've got 80s basketball, just 75 or 45 players here. It's probably an early one that I did. Let me see. If we go to draft, let's go to draft players. Let's clear original team abbreviations. I like doing that. And let's say draft eligibility rules. I could set an eligibility range, meaning, if I brought in a ton of players, I could really whittle this down or so on. Let's see what else I got. Organize. Where's my draft? It is a little bit, it's similar to baseball, but it's a little different too. Let's go to draft players. Okay. So we want a loop. random draft grid. Oh, sorry, I gotta say we're gonna do 12 rounds, and there you go. Give me a random. If you didn't like that order, you could still keep going over here and hit random, and it'd pick the teams right here. The one thing I didn't notice, Beatles, is that we have the ability to import multiple seasons into a draft league. And on this one, anyway, we'll just see what it says here. Computer suggest. Let's start, we'll do one round here. General managers. We'll set them all to computer. All computer, and then let's go over and let Detroit be human. I'll be the human one. And here we go. Let's start the draft. Continue it. Computer suggests Kelly Terpukas. Anyway, draft works good. I haven't been in here and done draft stuff in a long time. But that's a good example of if you want to set up a league and do drafting, you've got the ability to come up here and just grab under utilities and say, hey, create a new draft league versus create a league where it's really just a blank template. Another thing you could do is if you're going to replay a league or want to play around with it, you could always take an existing league and then back it up. And I do a lot of that when I'm, well, in fact, probably a good chance to do that now. My all-time great 3 years here that I've been doing my homebrew on, it's probably about a good time to go create or back up current database. And I'll just go back up and 6/11/23. That always lets me know if something ever went wonky, I could go back to this one. So I'll hit copy database and that gives me a backup. So a lot of good tools in here. If you ever get tired of this recent leagues down here, you can go up here. There's a tool that'll let you clear that. Interesting. Yeah, I'm interested to see what stuff comes out in basketball that's following off of some of the upgrades that happened in baseball this year. Uh, Specifically, guaranteed they've got to be coming with those mod tools, which allow you to save and import and assign logos in different ways. Yeah. How do you do multiple seasons in baseball for a draft? Same way. Let's go fire up baseball. Okay. Let's do utilities. Create new draft league. Oh, let's call it. I'm gonna call it the Beatles draft. Do we want to start? So here, if you wanted to create your new teams and give them your own custom names, you could do that, right, and set up your league. Or we could say import teams from an existing league. And let's go back to something where they only had 8 in each. Say, let's take the teams that were set up in 1937. So it'll take those team names. Import players from existing league. Seems like it's only letting me. Oh, let's go. Let's say we're going to do this league in 82. It's only letting me import players from one league. Let's just say players none. And let's create the league. It's a draft league, but we haven't imported any players yet. Create it. So we should see actual major league teams. And we do. Well, from 1937. Okay. So it brought in their real life records, which don't really mean anything now, but you'll notice all of these rosters are blank. So let's go set up a draft. Organize. Oh, draft. Set eligibility rules. Okay. Free agent deletion tool. So we could delete players. I know, Beatles, we did something. Let's just hit draft. Okay. 0 free agents found. I know we can pick and import into our draft pool. Let's see, import. MV, welcome, welcome, welcome. Help us out, MV. How can I set up multiple pools and bring them into my thing to draft from? I am missing where to find that. Hmm. Hmm. I did. I think I did it in my virtual unboxing, actually. And now I can't. I have to go back and watch my own virtual unboxing here from around Christmas time. I can't even remember how do we bring in free agents. I've got to be I thought there was an organized. Okay, that would let me just add. Computer GMs. Yeah, it is miles deep. Hey, Arnold, welcome, welcome, Arnold. So this is blowing my mind because I know I got to pick more than one. Wow. Sometimes I have to go and just say, go slow. That's what I thought. Organize menu, historical data, right? League tools. It's there. Transaction and roster tools. No, that's general. Um, Organize players import. Yeah, there is no. Yeah, it's the same one. Just making sure. Sometimes I forget where stuff is in this game. Crazy. No idea. No idea. So let's go. Man, I'm trying to think how we set the eligibility up where we got to really fine tune. But it's making me wonder when we set up the league, do we have to bring players in immediately? Meaning, um, um, let's try it again. Create new league. No team names. Create new teams. 2 leagues, 2 division, 8 teams. Okay. Let's import. What do we want to draft from? Let's draft. Well, let's take night. Let's say we were going to do a 1982 league and let everybody redraft. Let's bring in 82. Create league. Okay. Here we go. We've got a bunch of teams. They all have generic names now. And if we go to database and hit free agents, we should see everybody. Oops. Some odd characters there. Okay, tools. MV. Import players. Import free agents. We got 1982 right here. Let's see. We could import players from one of our MV daddies, right? We could say all players, all players, all players. Oh, yeah, here we could even, all right, select all. So let's select all the players in the league. Import 310, import. Okay. And what else can we bring in? Let's bring in, what other crazy stuff do I have in here? Say we wanted 1920. Got all, select all, 538 players, import. So now we should see some doubles. Yep, we've got a few George Burns. So yeah, now that's how you do it. We go into basically the database feature is what that would be, right? So if we go to database, database is where we go to bring players into the database. And then under tools, we go to import players and we can just go year by year by year and bring it in. Man, I would have thought that was under organized draft too, but there's no draft under organized, but there it is. Go to the overall database and just view it as, hey, I'm just going to compile everybody I want to be in that database. Then we can get into, once we have the database, we could go to draft and set the eligibility where, let's say we only wanted certain years, right? We want only 1930 to 1970. Age don't really matter there, or and we could say, at least minimum batter plate appearances. We want at least 200 plate appearance and at least 50 innings pitch. Okay, we've done that. Free agent delete tool. So we could, if we needed to do it in reverse, we could say, oh, I want to get players out of this category. We could delete them here. So let's take a look at, let's go to the draft, see what we have. eligibility. That's basic eligibility. Okay. So we brought in 1920 and then our Howie Shanks League. So let's go to draft. Do we delete partial players? That's for leagues like if you've got an actual league, like 1920 would be a good example. If a player split time with a few teams or two teams, you've got the individual offerings there. And there's also a player card of all of theirs combined, which would be what you'd want for a draft league. So when you say delete partial, if you've got George Burns that played on the Indians, the Tigers, and the A's, you would want the version that had all of those combined for a draft league. So when you hit delete partial, it would delete the partial stats that he had for the individual teams. So let's hit delete partial players. Cool. And with my criteria, we got 88 free agents because we selected, what was it, 1930 to 70. And here we go. Awesome. So then we could do round by round, all that good stuff. And still, we could come back in here and tweak that, right? And if we wanted them not to just be eligible for the draft, we could also just completely delete them off of the file too, the ones that were outside of our parameters. Hey, Chris, great to see you. Cool. Yeah. No, I mean, the I've learned more. I've been involved in action games for years. I've learned more in the last year or so, just starting to do some of the broadcasting and the unboxing and start to do things I haven't done in years with some league setup. And it's like I'm learning new things that used to be new to me and brand new things I've never messed with. I mean, you're also learning it. You could also dump them into the draft pool without the year restriction. Yeah, for sure. In fact, let me take that year restriction off and see if it adds because I didn't delete them. Let's take the year restriction and go 0 to 2050. Oh, and here we go. Now I took those parameters off and now it opened it back up to my pool. So that's cool because you can change your parameters and the players are still on the database. But if I went to this one, free agent deletion tool, this would tell me if I wanted to just completely remove them from consideration and launch them off the database, this is what delete free agents would do. This would be telling me, hey, get rid of people that didn't play a lot or between these years. The fact that I didn't do that allows me to toggle back and forth when I'm in the draft. And I can sit here and go back and forth with different eligibility and say, okay, I've got everybody here. Now I just want to go 1950 to 1970. And now we're down to 40. So yeah, it's good to know, right? You delete them completely off the database or just let your eligibility tool move the parameters around for you. So this would be fun. In fact, let's run one for the heck of it here. Let me do another one. So we've got well, let me see if I can do one from scratch, an easy one. Oh, you know what? Let me do it in basketball. I haven't run a draft in basketball. So let me fire up basketball. Now maybe I know what we're doing here. New draft league. Let's say I wanted it. It'd be fun if you take an existing year. So let's take, I don't know. Let's take 1973, 74. Actually, let's go a little bit. Take 75, 76. Call it draft test 75, 76. Import teams from 1975-76. Import players from 1975-76. This should just create 1975-76 with the real teams blank, ready to go and draft all the players. So let's take a look at this setup. So here's the players. Let's organize the draft. Eligibility rules. Okay, won't have to mess with that. Let's go to draft players. Now, let's take a look at the players. Now, we're going to see some repeats. Let's take a look at the players in order here. So here's Mike Bantam. So we can see we've got Mike Bantam. This would be the combined, right? So if we look at it, we've got him Mike Bantam with Phoenix and Seattle. And if you added the Phoenix and Seattle up, it comes to Mike Bantam where there is no team, which means that's his combined. So if we're going to do a draft league, this is the one that has these two iterations added to him. So same thing would be true here for Butch Beard. So let's go to Tools, delete partial, and guess what? It deleted the partial players. So now we can say draft eligibility. Awesome. If we want to clear the previous team, because we're going to have to draft league, we don't care what the previous team in the real life was, we could say clear that. Those are gone. We could come to modify draft order. I could pick, let's do general managers, all computer, and then I'll pick one team. I'll pick Detroit, and then just to have some fun, I'll be the human control. But here's what you could do. If you wanted to set up and let the computer draft, but you wanted to say, hey, guess what? I want to really emphasize scoring or rebounding, or is everything just even? We'll just leave them on normal here. This is where you could tweak kind of the computer draft if you didn't want to do it manually, but I'm going to keep it on human. Okay, so we got a draft ready to go. Let's go draft order. Let's go 12 rounds. And let's go random draft order. Here we go. Oh, I did standard. Let's do loop. I like the loop. Random draft order on the loop. There we go. Oh, look, I got the first pick. Lucky me. So let's do it. Let's go run this draft. It's like just like we took 75-76, we're going to draft all over. Let's see what we can do here. Draft players. Computer suggest. Oh, we're going to do round by round. Continue draft, and there I'm on the clock. Computer says Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I can search here based on overall rating. Bob McAdoo's pretty good, but yeah, I agree with you. I can view him before if I wanted to take a look at his ratings and all that. But here's what's going to happen. I'm gonna continue. Boom. I'm just going to hit draft. I'll take him. Round two. Who have I got in round two? The nice thing too is I could go back and look at what they're picking, but otherwise it just comes right to me because I'm the next human. Suggest it's going to say Curtis Perry, power forward. No thanks. I think I want to get. Let's take a look at the rating here. Oh yeah, got Havlicek I can take there. I think I'm gonna take Havlicek. Draft. Who's next? I'm gonna take Walt Frazier. Next. Says I should take Ken Charles. No, thank you. Can look at minutes played. I don't know. I've already got one. Let me take Bobby Smith. Anyway. let the computer suggest, right? I got void free. See who else I got. Okay, it's complete. So let's take a look, see how the teams came out. Be fun to see. Yeah. Uh, t -t -t Yeah, that's what I'm saying too, Beatles, is I've done that in the past. I've taken a bunch of seasons I liked and done it, but I'm just so much into these what ifs and having fun. But this is an easy way to set up and just take a season, let's redraft and have some fun with it. So let's take a look at my team. Don't know how good they'll be. Let's find out. But Jabbar, Adams, all these good things. Now, let's have some fun and do some testing right here. So these 1975-76 was pre 3-point. These players, even the outside shooters like a Havlicek, are not rated for threes. So the game will do a good job of estimating based on their outside rating, which he's pretty high. So let's take a look at, let's see how well I drafted. Who knows? Let's see if it will show me league power rankings. Let's see what we got. Nothing, because this will go along as we start scoring points and winning games. Let's take a look at league team salaries. Oh, I came out pretty good. I've got a pretty good team, probably because of Jabbar with that team salary. So it looks like I should be a pretty good favorite in this league. So let's take a look, see how things play out. So we have the schedule. Um, oh no, we don't have the schedule. So you know what you can do? One of my favorite things right here. If you ever want to bring a schedule in, go right over to your basketball file, a season that you have one, 1975-76, and I'm going to have a season right here. And right under here, you're going to see Sked. I'm going to copy the, or yeah, schedule file right here. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to go into, what did I name this thing? Draft test something something. Yeah, draft test 75-76. I'm going to drop this right over the top. And now if I go to organize schedule, now I've got the actual 75-76 schedule. So that's a little trick. You can go and grab the actual schedule from a season and drop it, especially if you're trying to mimic one. It's kind of a shortcut. So here we go. Got all the games ready to go there. One thing I want to do though is I'm going to turn three-pointer on. So let's take a look at our rules. Should be automatic. Oh, yep, I've got it on. So I'm going to turn 3-point on. Blended offensive, we'll keep it blended. I could also do average historical. Let's do that. Let's play this 75-76 league like it's an average historical league. All that. No, we want a 24-second shot clock. Dun, dun, dun. Period. Let's do period jump. Fouls. DQs on 6. 2 technicals. 1 warning. Yep, we get suspensions. Flagrant fouls on there. Da, da, da. Usage. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see, what's MVC? Let me follow the chat here. Discussion, good idea. Imagine a draft with all-time college teams eliminating any duplicates. Yep, and um, I think we have that. I think we could do that. We could get a file. I think they have a file based on great colleges and players that played there. I think there is a product. I don't have it that Action sells that would be a good starting point. So anyway, I think we're good here. I think it's good enough to start here. Oh, and I like this. In-game injuries, no. Um, oh yeah, let's put this on. In-game and let it roll. Active 12. We're going to save it. Now let's go back. Let's play Schedule League game and let's play them all. And here we go. Let's see what happens in this draft league. And then we'll see how well the game does here in a 75-76 season with 3 points. Which again, when I broadcast a couple days ago and got cut off, the game does a great job now. I can remember playing around with it way back. It's doing a much better job um, at emulating 3-point information, according to me, right? This is just my feeling, but I dug into it a lot 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago when I was doing some projects. But now when I've run some tests, it's like, seems like very realistic breakdown of players that you'd expect to be taking shots. Let's see as we roll through here. Oh, I'm tearing it up. Look how good I did in the draft. But 75-76, Abdul Jabbar, literally head and shoulders above everybody else. I mean, you had some really good scorers that were going to be coming into the league when with the ABA merger, but I mean, he was a beast. And for whatever reason, I think it let me get Walt Frazier at point guard. So even though it's a little bit later in Frazier's career, I mean, I've got Frazier at point, Abdul Jabbar at center. Let's see how this thing's working out. Yeah, I think this was McGinnis's first year with Philadelphia, 75-76. He'd come out of the in ABA with Indiana. Barry, who had just come out, I think this year or the year before he was with the Nets. Yeah, MV. If you have that one, that would be fun. But I have an all-time greats college file that we might be able to pull in. Let me take my all-time great college file and take a look at that. Maybe I don't know if anybody has anything to do. Maybe I'll fire that one up next, my old school basketball greats, and try to do something with that. Da, da, da. You know what's puzzling me? It could be my display, but why my font up here? It's not telling me. It's like blacked out, meaning I've got some weird colors here. It's not showing me like what month we're actively in. So I can see Maravich tearing it up. Jabbar's not scoring as much as he did in real life. It'll be fun to see. Bob McAdoo was with the Braves and Buffalo. Big time scorer. Archibald, tiny, dishing out a ton of assists back then and scored a lot. Now we're getting close. I think that's 79 games, probably just another week here. We should be done. And I've dominated the league with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So let's take a look at how the season leaders popped out here. Oh, well, Maravich led the way. Interestingly enough, let's take a look at it. Game did a really good job. I mean, he played 62 games for real, and I turned on the random. It uses their ratings, of course, to be realistic, but I didn't just turn on in game. It's in game and then future game. So he did miss some. So it's not like he played 82. That looked pretty realistic. Um, Jabbar played in 82, and he did in the replay. See Walt Frazier here. Ah, look at this. So this is where the game does a really good job. In real life, Walt Frazier only played in 59 games. He only played in 58 in the replay. So let's take a look at his numbers to see how he played outright, because we moved him into a draft situation, right? So it kind of took him out of his element, but still really realistic numbers close to what he did in real life. I love the cards here, just like with the baseball game, where you get when you do a replay, you can come here and just get enamored in the stats. So I can sit here and look at, well, look, here's all his game highs. So one game he played every minute. Shows the game highs for all these categories. He had 42 points was his high. It shows his era adjusted numbers that was coming in on based on his real stats, but then it's also going to look at what he did in the advanced stat category, right? So his Tendex and his player efficiency rating and that, where it's at, his shot chart, which is great to take a look at what he did. Like very rarely was he ever inside, right? Most of his scoring came on outside. He put up 296 3-pointers, right? He had some drives and fast breaks. And then we go look at Abdul Jabbar. We'd expect to see, yeah, the majority of his stuff's coming from inside play. Didn't take a 3-pointer, a little bit 4% of all the shots on the team. So his shot share, how many dunks, it's just tons of geek stat information, I'll call it. So he had a great year here. All stars, there's your all stars for the league. There's your all league team, right? Abdul Jabbar, Drew Barry, Downtown Freddie Brown, and JoJo White. Take a look at JoJo White. The other thing about this game that's great is anywhere you're on this screen, you want to see what somebody did, I just click on JoJo White here, and there it is. You can see he did better in the replay, even in less minutes, which meant on this team, he got 23 points compared to 18. But look, he put up more field goal attempts. Free throws are about the same, but put up more. And because there's a 3-point line, he was hoisting it. So let's take a look at 3-point leaders. We can go to database, and I created a special report that just shows 3-point. And let's look at replay stats, and here we go. So now we can say who had the most. Well, Calvin Murphy put up 589 3-pointers. And again, I set this to, hey, Golden Eagle, welcome, welcome. We need a Manchester basketball team, yeah. So fun stuff here. I mean, my testing has shown that the game does a great job of emulating 3-point data. And this was set on like historical average, which takes the historical years that have used 3-point data and averaged all them to figure out like how many attempts per game and all that, the rate it'll put them up. If we went and looked at a current season, so here you got 75, 76 trying to play with the 3-point historical line. You got Calvin Murphy and downtown Freddie Brown. No surprise there that they were hoisting the ball up. Pete Maravich, Gail Goodrich, Havlich. These are all the people you'd expect to have seen back then that were taking tons of outside shots. If we go over, let's pull up a real season, a recent one. Let's take a look at 2018, 2019. Let's go to the database, look at real stats. Here they are, refresh. And there you go. We've got 12 people hoisting up as much as the league leader did back then. So you can see, James Harden throwing over 1,000. So a lot's changed in that 3 point. It's kind of fun to see the history of that. Of course, I think it was 93 where they moved it up. I honestly think the game of basketball is worse now. I just do. I don't it I think the 3 point line is wonderful, but in my opinion, I think they need to move it back, um, because the inside play and what I used to like to watch in the 80s and even into the early 90s, it's just not a fun. I mean, I'm still going to root for my Pistons and that, but it's just not the fun game to watch as it used to be. So I'm not old school, like let's just go back to 2 point plays. I think 3 points fun. I just think it needs to be farther out. I just don't think if you got somebody that can just sit back and throw up 1,200, 3 pointers, and it's just not as entertaining to me. But we go back to the first. Let's go back to not the first year. They didn't know how they were going to use it. It was so deep back then. But if we go back even to the late 89, 90 and take a look at that season, and we go to, you can see here who's hosting them. Yeah, you just had the guys that were throwing up from the old distance 3 pointers, right? Danny Ainge and Reggie Miller and all that, pumping them up for home runs and G's, RB's. Like, let's go to baseball. Just running back and forth, looking at under the hood stuff. And then maybe I'll pop football open and take a look because it's its own unique way of entering. So let's see. Is this my? Let's go to a. Let's go to a Howie Shanks old league that I can mess up, and it's not going to mess anything up. Let's go to that replay test. Okay, here's a league. I can mess around with all these teams. So Joe Murdy is one to keep real stats and the other for replays. Oh yeah, let's go to edit stats. So there's two things you can do. If I'm going to go in here, pull up Judd Wilson, and I'm going to hit edit player statistics, yeah, you've got real or replay. So if I do real, I could come in here and choose to do all of my editing on a card right here. You know what I mean? I could put in my verse because you'll notice if you have a total, once you start editing versus lefty, it gives you your other righty split. That's convenient, right? But I could come here and do all my editing right here, and it's an easy place to see all his fielding. And I could create on attributes down here if I wanted to have some other fun. But so you can go that way, or you can edit the replay stats, meaning if you had replay stats here, you could edit that. I'm just seeing real. Do we have any replay stats? Oh no, we do. Yeah. So 586 should be his at bats for that. Edit replay. Yeah. So now if I go to edit replay, these are all his replay stats. So I could edit that like if there was, I don't know, some mishap or whatever, because he had 586. And then if I go to real for Sal Bando, should be 60 something, right? Yeah, 609. What I tend to do though, when I'm going to edit, I don't edit players based on right clicking and editing at that level. I will go to, like if I had a league I was going to build, I go right up here to the main edit and then I'll edit batting right there. And I could pick real, or like if I hit replay here, it's just going to bring up a spreadsheet just for batting. This is the sheet I've always used going right here. Because if I have a team and I want to zero it out, I can grab these tools and I can clear the spreadsheet and enter here. I've never, come to think of it, actually done all my inputting for my home brews. I've never done it from this. May have to look at that because it could be easy because I'll just go in there and edit everybody on the team's batting, then do their splits, then do their fielding, and then go to pitching. I'll do it on those sheets, never player by player, if that makes sense. Yeah, a lot more sight than I do, and my stuff doesn't read everything the way you would see it. Interesting. There's one to keep real stats. Interesting. Steve, you have a site, meaning I'm not sure what you mean, Joe, unless you mean actual site, which is, I know Aaron in the channel, Aaron Reed, um, doesn't have sight, but I mean, yeah, I see fine, so not sure if that's what you mean. But yeah, a couple ways to edit for sure. Yeah, no, I agree, Joe. Like for one player, and now that I'm looking at it, like for one player, everything's right here for it, right? So if you've got all your stuff up for Mini Minoso or whatever, you could come here and it's the wrong one. I'm talking about edit stats or Monty Irvin here. I could come right here into Real and I can put everything I need. And in some ways, this may be easier if I go player by player because I can. They're playing six positions, or like here, Monty Irvin's got six of them. It's easy. I can just boom, 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 drop my range here. Here's my outfield arm and move on. So I've actually got two ways I could come in here and edit, but I could edit everything about him right here, right here. The other way you could do is once they're edited, you could hit modify. If I go to modify player information, that also brings up stuff. It doesn't let me do anything with stats, but it will let me modify some of their ratings as far as run and their fieldy ratings, but it won't let me do any stat editing. So, oh, great joke. I had no idea. Um, I do not have a site. I'm trying to think. I do have a site, um, but just for broadcasts like this. But I don't have a site yet for. I guess I don't have a website. I have a media share file thing up that I can drop links if I want to like give people access for some of the downloads that I put together, like the photo files and some of the franchise files. But that's something I need to look at. Um, in football, it's its own situation. I know Beatles might have to close his eyes or put sunglasses. Or look away, Beatles. You don't want to. I'm about to fire up F ball, as he calls it. But in football, it's a little. They've got a couple options the way you can edit stats too. But when I go to create players, like pull up a team thing, you can go up here to edit roster, and you can edit like offensive statistics and pull up a chart right here and go just by all kinds of skill players or whatever. You can do it that way, or you could pull up a player and modify a player, and you could put in gives you the ability to enter their data right here too. So, each of the games has their own little nuance, right? Football has a different feel when you're in there creating and doing stuff. Basketball has a slightly different feel, and baseball is kind of its own too. Yeah, Action has the 5-year files to November of last year. I may send over my updated ones because I think I'm up to, I don't know what it was, Beatles, 90 something for AL or NL. That was earlier this year, so I may have to send some new ones over for them to use. But before I run, I will see if little test file in basketball, if I set up create new draft league, it's called NCAA draft test. And let's say import teams from existing league. What have I got here? Here's NCAA 1971. So let me bring in the teams from 1971 basketball. import players, and I could bring my players in from my all-time great, I believe. I don't know what it's called, but let's find out. It's got to say college grades or something. Oh, great college teams. Let's create the league. Let's see what happens. Let's put them. Let's put them in 1982. See what happens. Just got to bring in a bunch of teams from the NCAA that year in '71, and then it'll bring my all-time great teams college players, and there may be some duplicates there. Take a look at database and see what we get. Let's look at free agents. And how many players do we have? So I've got 4,600 players, right? So there's some all-time greats. There seem to be a couple dupes, like Larry Bird's in there twice, Pete Maravich, Oscar Robertson, Lou Alcindor. So yeah, there's Shaq right there. So yeah, I could grab an all-time thing and have some fun. Scott May's in here, but it looks like he's here 3 times, so it makes me wonder why he's got the same, why he got brought in here 3 times. But anyway, possibilities, as they say, are endless. 90 plus for each. Yeah, let me just see. I have, oh, I was going to say Beatles. I don't know if everybody knows this, but if you, um, let me hit this thing up. Okay, so I'm going to find what they put out here the other day. Take a look at this. This is action. It's a freebie weekend right now. Any of you action fans or wannabe, it means if you buy it just five, they're giving you some great stuff for free. So just have to spend $5. And I'm going to grab a couple of my early basketball seasons. But let's take a look at the freebies they're offering. These normally cost 15, 25, 15, 15. But if you spend just $5 this weekend, you can get the 91 baseball season free, the 2003 college football season free, 71-72 ABA free, 84-85 and 2007 and '08 hockey free, and the ABL season. I mean, all you have to do is spend $5. Let me reiterate that, and you get all that free. So in essence, you could get, $100 worth of stuff for $5 if any of these interested you. So it's a pretty cool weekend thing going on right now. And I was looking at some of the basketball seasons pre 70 I don't have. And if you look right now, they're on sale. They're almost half off. So I have 52. I don't have 48, 49, 50, or 51. I've just never bought them for some reason. So I thought, maybe I'll buy these four. And I don't think I have the 2003 college basketball season. I'm going to get that for free. So it's almost like, what the heck? Franchise best right now with basketball. These are great deals. So if you wanted to do, like, let's say, here's what it is. And I know Beatles does this occasionally too. The 1960s, they take the best season for that franchise during the decade, and it's kind of like they put a franchise best from the 60s together. $11 right now for that. The 70s, here we go. So we got, yeah, Philadelphia 79-80. You got Boston 72-70. So again, $11. Special collections. Or let's talk about decades. Sometimes people say, hey, I want to buy the whole decades. Right now, you can get, let's say, the 1980s. So if you're into 80s basketball, it's normally $85 and you get all 10 seasons. So the 10 seasons are normally $850 a season if you buy them in bulk. Right now, you could get all the 80s and it averaged to $5.38 a season. All 10 seasons for the decade in one download file. I mean, this is a great sale. And if you spend over $100, you get another 20% off, which is always what I'm encouraged to do. So again, I don't get any money for doing this for Action, but it's just like sometimes with these sales, they're just really cool. And then now if you buy something, you get a couple extra freebies in there, which is always a good incentive. Let's take a look at baseball seasons. Is there a sale going on with baseball seasons? Well, let's find out. Yes, there is. Let's look at Negro Leagues. So right now, if you haven't, if you've been thinking, hey, I want to get some Negroes, what a great weekend to buy them because $15 is a steal compared to all the other games that I'm aware of out there, what they charge for a season. And now you can get them discounted. So here they are, $9, and then the temptation is always to go over 100 and get another 20 off. This is just a great time to load up on stuff. And Action has sales frequently. A couple, at least a few times a month. I know Beatles correct me if I'm off base on this, but I think it's at least 3 times a month that they have some kind of advertised sale, either with one sport or all sports or something. Um, Baseball. Let's take a look. What else can you get? Baseball Complete History Collection. Oh, you can buy everything there. Classic Decades, right? Those aren't on sale. Special Collections. Here's that state collection right here. The all-time greatest teams. No special sales, but you can tell they're just um, offered, at a reasonable price. Here's this Baseball the Hall. Let's look at that. 250 plus member of the Hall, all in one collection, and each player will be based on one of their best seasons. So this isn't like the history collection where it's peak season or whatever. But I mean, let's say you just wanted to have a cool file and just play stuff with Hall of Fame players with one of their great seasons. It's $19 retail. It's not even the sale price. Um, Best of collection, special collections. Negro Leagues, new releases. What do they got? Oh, they've got the projection. So if you want to play along with that, you can. So basketball seasons. I'm looking at college. They have seasons and tournaments. So here's all the seasons. They go back to 93, 94 for the college tournament, right? Which you get every team that was in the tournament. And you can see these are reasonably priced, $10, $12. Um, yeah, if you don't own Action, why? It's just a great bargain in the depth of the game. Conferences, you can order by conference. College basketball. The complete collection, right? So how many seasons is that? I don't know. It might be a bunch. I wonder how many seasons and tournaments they open. So yeah, it looks like they go back season wise. So here's 3 or 4 back to the early 2000s for full seasons, and then they have tournament teams for a little bit farther back. They got hockey pro seasons going on right now. So if you're into the hockey game, yep, look at these hockey seasons, 575 for some early ones, $7 for some later ones. Just a great sale going on right now. How about the golf game? If anybody hasn't played the golf game's a blast. It's on sale right now. It hasn't been updated since 2021. It's making me wonder if they're going to do any tweaks to the game, but it plays great. It's on sale right now for $19 for the golf game. And if you buy it, um, here's all that comes with it. You're going to get a couple of the seasons and then a ton of the different courses. Another great game going on. And then they sell bundles and different things. So again, if you haven't done it, I think before the night's over, I'm going to buy those 4 or 5 basketball seasons I don't have, and then I'm going to get these freebies with it. I have some of these. I may not have one of these hockey seasons, and I may not have this '03 football. So guess what? I'm going to get them 3 for buying a few seasons for $7 a season. I mean, crazy. And if any of you here want to follow the game or learn more about it, you can get out of the shop, and great information on the game here. And here's the forum. You can go to the forum and sign up. There's a lot of information here. Sometimes I'll post updates to my files I'm working on here. A lot of discussion around the different sports and people sharing their thoughts, and also contributing links to files and downloads and updates and cool projects they've got going on. Here's one, third party tools. People here put some ballpark packs, arena songs, all kinds of great stuff here. So if you've never been here, this is a great site. Go to the Action PC main page and get involved in the forums there. And then you can get information here about all the different games and some of the enhancements for the latest one that's out. And as Beatles and I often say, again, if you don't own Action, why? It sounds like a commercial, right? But I'm serious. I don't get anything from Action for plugging it. I plug the games because I've been playing them for years, and they're the ones that they're my go-to for really all the sports. The only thing in football is if you're a football fan, you need to own 3 because they all are unique in their own way, and that's Action, because it's probably the best game calling and simulation of head-to-head gameplay that you could have. And then Second and 10 is just a great game with tons of seasons, and it's different. And Pro Strategy Football that Kerry Batts does. That game is just getting to be so much fun as a simulator with some of the little visuals and that. So to me, with football, you should own all 3. Basketball, this is the game for the computer for me. I think Action Replay. I've been like last night. Beatles mentioned. I want to get in. I want to like PC Replay, baseball and basketball, because it looks good. I love watching people play it. But I have never, I'm embarrassed to say, as much tweaking as I do, I couldn't figure out, and I spent about an hour farting around with the thing, couldn't figure out how to just do a game with the demo I downloaded. And I'm like, should it be this hard just to like fire a game up? You know what I mean? It shouldn't be, but I couldn't figure it out. So it wasn't very intuitive. I put it down, but I've watched others, Al, Red Sox fan being one, and some other ones play games, and I enjoy watching the games. Um, it's probably one of the better card to dice. It reminds me a lot of, it's like Second and 10 is to football. It's got a pretty cool little engine to run digitally based off of like a cards and dice game. So that's the only one. Basketball. I know Ron Juckett has likes Strat basketball. I've not played Strat basketball at all. Again, I got away from Cactus. I was into Cactus League basketball twice before, back in around 1999 or 2000, then again in 2007. But I, I kept trying as like a computer game to get into that, and I gave it a few chances, and I'm like, oh, I'm going back to Action because I liked Action better. And I never even really used the ball movement in Action until last year. I just read the text as it went by. But so there it is. I don't know what else anybody wants to see, demo, talk about. Probably need to go out and do what I need to do. The other thing I'm waiting to see is Super Mega Baseball 4. I'm like, do I buy it and then just start tweaking it? Because in my brain, I would take some of my homebrew data, figure out how to match it up to the ratings in the game, and then have some fun creating like my own images and some all-time great teams. That's what I would do immediately. I probably wouldn't even be playing the game. I would be going, um, creating immediately. I mean, so I'm like, okay, and I kind of enjoy the cartoony nature of it, but I'm like, I would be creating probably all-time franchise teams. I'd probably be creating a pirate team, a tiger team, a Reds team, and trying to get the players to look somewhat cartoonishly close, and then figuring out how to have their stats, how to figure out kind of like what Legends does in his league, right? With the different games, trying to figure out how do you get them to be represented accurately for their type of play, right? Using the ratings in the game. So I don't know if I dare start doing that now because I've got so many other things going on, or maybe I wait several months. Maybe the price comes down and it's a sale and I pick it up on Steam and then I start playing around with Super Mega Baseball 4. And then there's Diablo 4, like Beatles was talking about the other day. And I don't, I'm a Path of Exile player when it comes to like an RPG type of thing. So I'm really waiting for the next month or so for them to really upgrade and go Path of Exile too. So like a lot of other things, but not sure where to go next. So anyway, back to this is my project I'm working on now. I've got a few minutes here before I shut things down. I'm doing all-time greats because Action doesn't have that history file. Football and baseball do, and I'm telling you, if you buy Action PC football and or baseball, first question is, yeah, don't why don't you own them? But if you do, the one file, unless you're a season replayer, to get is that history where it's based on their peak chunk of their career. It's wonderful. Football has it. Let me fire that up. I'm going all over the place here. And let's see which ones I have. Okay, yeah, here we go. Um, History collection. Boom, right here. It was 2022. I have the newest version, and you'll see they all come in draft. So we got to go to the database and look at them. But what a blast to go look at. Here's all the free agents. And let's take a look at how they're carded for their peak, right? So you've got here's Dickerson, Barry Sanders. Start looking at yards. We want to look at passing, and these are all era adjusted. So let's take a look at minimum 100 attempts. You can start seeing all the players that you'd have available here. So you got Rogers, all the big ones that you know about, right? That you'd want to see in here, and there's others in here as well. Matt Stafford. You want to look at yards. Donovan McNabb. There's Fran Tarkenton. So you could pull. Oh, got no teams to look at. That's why it does that. Anyway, it's a good time to keep me from getting too far down doing that. Oh, Phil Cook in here. Wonder why Action Football PC Football crashes. Yeah, why does it crash? Let me open that back up again. Maybe we found something here. I don't know if I've got the most up to date on football. Let me take a look at the help help about. Okay, 429 for football. Oh, there's a 519. Let me just download it. Here's some people always say, I downloaded this. How do I update the zips? It's this easy. You can see my zips downloading up down. I'll show you how you do it. All I do is replace the exe file, the executable. So maybe I need a new update. Let's see. Or do I even have 23? Oh no, I do. Yeah, 23. I thought I was upgraded. 429 is my last one. So let's go to my downloads. Download file. There it is. So I'll come over. Oh, it's unconfirmed. It doesn't think it's good. Let's do it. Yeah, I want to keep it. Keep anyway. Thank you. So now I can see it. So I take that downloaded file. There it is. I always right click and hit properties and I unblock it. Somebody told me to do that years ago. I always do it. So I unblock it, hit apply, and then I just open it up, even though it's a zip, and I take the application, I right click and copy it, and then you got to go to where the game is, not where your DK Sports data folder is, but my game is located in program files, Action PC Football. Open that up, and then I just right click and paste it, and it's going to ask me if I want to override it or I need permission. Yes, copy it over. So now this football 2023, when I fire it up, get out of here. Got all kinds of stuff open up. Let me fire the game back up. Now when we go hit about, since I overwrote the executable file, if I hit help, action, or about, oh, what's going on? Oh, hit me up. What just happened there? That is odd. Copy. Program files, football, paste. Oh, replace. Yes, replace. Continue. Yes. I can just click on it right there. Now it's updated. So now I got the 519 version. So now I'm updated. So let's take a look at the database here. And what was odd is we had looked at click free agents. Let's take a look at names. I wanted to look at Fran Tarkenton. How about Johnny Unitas? And there he is. So it's funny, I didn't get that runtime error. So there's Johnny Unitas. So if I want to look at him, I can see here's his stats, right? His real stats. I can look at his ratings, rushing for inside, outside, and then you can see estimates, kind of like what his ratings would be for different type of passes. And you can look at ERA Plus, which is great for baseball and all the other games. They're having this ERA. So it's basically taking a look at him and ERA adjusting him. So you can see his rushing average is 10, 11%. 100 would be the average. Um, his interception percentage is going to be pretty high, right? Pass completion is pretty good. So this gives you a way to look at um, different players over coming from different eras. Let's see. Anyway, get defensive ratings. It's a cool way to look at the ratings. So let's take a look at on defense who's rated high, like who's the big rushers. Gino Marchetti, right? Doug Atkins, Deacon Jones. These guys have the highest pass rush defending a pass. Rondé Barber, Roger Worley, Deion Sanders. Yeah, no surprise there on an all-time greats. Defending the run up on the front line. Let's see who we got. Yeah, you got Joe Green, Alan Page. So just a reminder, if you have one of these, because I was like a rookie one time, I got the game, and then I'm like, hey, how do I see the players? And it's like, duh. When you're looking at the database for a draft file like this that doesn't have players on teams, you come to the database, and most of the time you'll have free agents unchecked, and you'll be looking at this going, I can't see any players. What's going on? Always remember, go over here and click free agents. Then you'll be able to see them. I struggled for several hours when I first got this file trying to figure out how to look at players, and I'm like, duh. Um, Another interesting thing you could do right here is turn on value. It's another way for you just to have all of the players on. So let's take a look at, it's a big file. Let's look at What do we want to have on here? Just put roster info. List everybody by value. Taking a while. It's churning here while it thinks. So I believe I switched the report from defensive rating to just roster info. So it's going to want to look at everybody on the file, which takes a while, right? So this is everybody on the file, 12,752 players on this file. And I could go over here and cycle it by value. And this has given me a good indication, right, of the value that's been assigned to them based on their stat line. So baseball, so you'll see I've got a new one. So they'll break it down into all kinds of subs, but I'll call this one Baseball History Master. I got the update in 2022. So if I go Baseball History Master save, this is going to have every player that's ever played baseball. Now, it can be a big folder to look at with your database. In fact, let's see how long this takes to fire up here. And I keep saying I got to go. And then here I am just digging deeper into all this madness. And it's grinding and grinding. Because I am kind of curious to know how long it'll take to pull every. This is the big one. You could do one where it limits it to at least players with a certain amount of minimum significant at bats or whatever. So the pool's not so large, but it's making me wonder just how big this one's going to be. And here it is. Let's go. Let's view all. Let's set it to just go basic batting. And let's just hit their rating value and let's hit free agents and just sit back and go, oh boy. We're going to view everybody. Free agents, and now it's grinding. Don't know how long this is going to take to pull up, but and here we go. Not all players displayed. Oh, there you go. The max is only 5,000. So it'll max itself out because again, this is every player in the file. So what I like to do is this. When I've loaded this file up that has everybody, I go up to organize and I hit player search. And when I pull this bar up, this lets me go look at the cards. So I could say last name, Aaron. There's Hank and Tommy. So I can pick up Hank, double click on it. Now it's going to show me that it's based, they've set him in 1962, but this is the peak slice Aaron that they're looking at. So you can see his fielding, how he's rated in right, center, and to play first. Just a great way to examine the disc. A little bit quicker to go directly to a player than through the database. Pick any name, right? We can go first name. About Reggie. Got to be a few Reggies. Oh, there's a bunch of Reggies. So we can cycle through and see who do we want to look at. Hey, there's Reggie Jackson. And we can see there's his card for his all-time peak. 32 homers, 284, and it's been neutralized, meaning it's neutral park. So all the ballpark effects have been eliminated, and he's based out of 74. So not the 74 season, but very similar to what I'm doing with basketball. This is just great for a history project collection because you're going to get him like a peak. And let's take a look at fielding. So you'll see there's his ratings, and they're giving him real stats that have been kind of proportioned out based on the years that they're using. So it's a great way to approach like an all-time history collection. Let's look at Koufax. Oh, there's more Sandys. There's Sandy Koufax. Again, it's using several seasons. I think Action says the greater a player was and the more seasons they played, the smaller seasons they'll use for the peak versus some minor players that had short careers and so on. They have their own formulas, but here we go. Fielding, batting. There's his pitching line. 2.49 ERA. He's averaging 64, 18 and 8 with a bunch of strikeouts. 254. So again, the numbers are going to be a little bit less pitcher oriented, and the reason he's not in pitcher friendly Dodger Stadium. This has all been Actions moved him over to a neutral park. So this is, to me, this is probably the best file to own if you're not trying to do a season replay, because you can do anything with this file. It is a blast. And how much does that cost right now over there? The baseball history collection. Let's go over here and see. Special baseball complete classic decade special collections. Baseball franchise league. What is this? Okay. Maybe the best season for each franchise. Oh, baseball history collection right here. Not a sale going on, but 59 bucks. And this will tell you what you get. You get the master that has 19,000 retired players. And then you've got it broken down into subcategories where they've got more substantial things. And then they've got special subsets to play with. This is just wonderful. Again, and sometimes they'll have sales on stuff. And hey, if you spend over $100, you can get 20% off anyway. So it's a great weekend to load up. If you don't own any of the history collections, go get them. They're a blast. And on that, I'm going to run. It's been enough fun time doing sports stats geek stuff. And I'll be back on a future broadcast, maybe probably be about a week and a half. I'm going to head out on vacation, but I'm on my basketball all-time greats file. It's based on 3 to 4 years of a player's best seasons averaged out and then neutralized. Also, I will say this if anybody cares, some people like the cards I'm doing. I'm working on photo packs for some of the cards, so you'll see right here. Let's maybe make them a little bit bigger, but you can see I've got some of the cards that I'm working on here for this all-time greats file. Just added the David Thompson cards here earlier. I'm trying to get at least 3 to 4 or 5 for some of the players, right? So you got a Walton with different teams in that, and definitely will make this available because this will accompany my all-time greats file, and I'll definitely be looking to make this available on the community side as well for download for people that want to use it, because I'm having as much time creating the teams and the games and the players in the game engine, and then coming in and getting the window dressing, right, which are the player cards, and having fun with that. I have quite a few to go, but I mean, I've just really started this. I think I've got 140 players created in this all-time greats, and trying to catch up now with some of the play. Here's one some people may not know from ABA and NBA days. Selmo Beatty, but here I've got Tiny Archibald, right? A few with the Kings. Got some photo of him with the Kings, and I've got another one here in case somebody wanted to use him and they like him with the Celtics. You could get Nate Archibald with the Celtics. I'm looking around for him. Oh, I got to go to the ends. Here he is. And here's one with the Celtics. So just trying to get a variation. of some things that I can make available. So appreciate everybody hanging around today. And with that, I'll see you down the road.